Hello, everybody. Welcome.
Hi, welcome once again to our Energies and Opportunities of 2024. We're recording today for the month of March, and we're going to start with just a bit of dipping back into where we are today in February the 24th, and then we'll move on from there. So we do this broadcast every month. This is for those of you who are new to our community. We take you through some of the highlight of the energies, going through the human design matrix for the coming month, and then also looking through the astrological energies for the coming month in order to get a really full, complete picture of how the energies are moving and to help you stay abreast of the current trends and the challenges and the opportunities that are coming up in the coming months so that you can plan with more confidence and have more clarity in the steps that you're taking week by week in the coming month. We're in the last few days of a special offer for you that we want to make sure that all of you know. It's a once per year program that we do called Business Success by Design. And it's for those of you who desire to become more successful, and especially if you're looking at 2024 as being a year that you could raise your game, become more successful in your business or in your private practice or in your health services, whatever it is that you do. It's a way to understand the unique energies that you have related to how you deliver your business, how you position your business, how you market your business, how you sell your services. And it is your own unique look at your design and how it applies to your business success. So we do this. It's a very hands-on, deep dive in a small group training where we help you reveal step by step your own unique path to success. So without taking a lot more time here, if you'd like to learn more about it, we just have a few more days when this program is open. So go and take a look. Go to our website, evolutionaryhumandesign.com. And then if you go to the trainings tab and tab down, you'll see Business Success by Design. Just click on that link and that'll get you there. All right, let's begin our really exciting deep dive into this coming month. It has some great surprises for us.
Yeah. So just going to recap a little bit from the human design perspective, going back to the new moon that we had on the 10th of February. And this moon took place, the full moon took place in gateway number 49. And what I remarked on at the time when we did our broadcast last month was this time is really a time of great discernment. Who are the people that are really important for you in your life, and who are the people you're really subscribing to? And to say, what is the ratio of support, give and take? You know, is it all a one-way thing? You give the whole time and you're not getting much back reciprocated? Or is it time to kind of branch out and see, maybe I could be putting my life in different ways, like outside of what it is that has always been recommended for me? And gateway number 49, where this new moon took place in, is the gateway of the rebel. And so, you know, we're moving into this time where we're moving out of the collective age, where it's everybody else's fault, as it were. We're moving into this age of taking personal responsibility. And so, in a sense, all of us have to adopt this energy of being the rebel, which is not to say we're going to start revolutions or anything like that, but we're just going to be very much aligned with our own sense of purpose and our own sense of who we are and what we're here for, right? We're not here to live anybody else's life for them. So that was how we started out the month. Valentine's Day, we had this extraordinary mix of energy, the Venus, Mars, and Pluto, all in exactly the same portion of the sky together. And it was just, to me, I see that Pluto anyhow has lately moved into the sign of Aquarius, and that basically means all change, big change, you know. And the symbol for Aquarius, as above, so below, the wave pattern. You want to have a great life according to what you consider to be the best possibility, then make it happen here on Earth. Let's have heaven on Earth. And in all the right ways, right? Let's have enjoyment, let's have fun, let's have great excitement. Let's have fabulous interactions and relationships. Let's get over all these stupid things like fighting and wars and all that kind of belligerent behavior. Let's get over destroying the planet, for example. You know, whether anyone believes in warming, global warming or whatever, there are better ways of doing things.
But I think that was a science, not a belief.
What?
Global warming, I mean, isn't it scientifically
Oh,
validated?
who knows? You know, it's all a collective understanding anyhow. You know, science is a collective thing. Somebody sees an experiment and, you know, they decide all of a sudden this is the new understanding. So, you know, we're living in Southern California here. We've noticed some pretty dramatic weather shifts lately, you know. Anyway, onwards. So I'm talking about Valentine's Day. We had this collection of Venus, what you love, the feminine side, who and what you draw to you. Mars, how you go about things in the world, how you put out your energy to create, hopefully. And then Pluto there, the planet of transformation, now moved on into the sign of Aquarius. So to me, it was like a real balancing or potential balancing of male and female energies, of give and take. And here it is, you know, Pluto is marching on now, transforming the world. And there's no going back into where we were before. So a lot of things changing. Here we are on the 24th of the month, and it's a full moon. So the moon has been doing its number, it's been going around, and now it comes back and it's sitting in gateway number 59. Very different than the 49. 49 is deciding who really works in your world. You know, what's the company you really love to keep, and who gives you that support that you cherish. The 59 is the gate of intimacy. So when somebody has the possibility of having a really powerful connection with you, do you really engage on that level? And here we are, the 59 line 6, which is the line I call discerning. Right? Again, we're in this whole thing of recognizing who fits in our world and who not so much. You know, by the time we get to the end of the month, we come into this life theme that we call migration. And, you know, from migration, you know, all kinds of things come to change. So the gate 59, intimacy, and the 59-6 line is called being discerning. You are very particular in your intimacies. So all of us grow up with various people around us in our lives that, you know, we assume these are people that are really here for us all the time. And then as life moves on a little bit, we find out, oh, maybe there are other people in this world that really matter for me. At this time, the sun is about to move into gateway number 37, which opens up for all of us the channel of community. So it's really family week this week, starting with this full moon in the 59-6. Who is it that really is close to me? Who is that important to me? And as I say, by the end of the month, we have a leap year month this year. And by the time we come into the 1st of March, the energy has shifted completely out of community, out of family, out of these close associations, clients, customers, however you want to see your community. In the end, I always say, who you want at your dinner table, right? Who breaks bread with you? Who tells good jokes? Who helps you clean up? Who brings a nice bottle of something? That kind of atmosphere. Who are those people that just get you, that make great company for you? And that's what these closing days of the month are all about. Who fits the picture and who not so much?
Well, I'm going to agree with you there. It's a very powerful full moon and a powerful month that we're moving into, the month of March. I want to back up a little bit further than today, about a week ago, and look at the time when the sun left the sign of Aquarius and moved into Pisces. So that happened on the 18th or 19th of this month, depending on what part of the world you're living in. So the sun moving into Pisces basically is the beginning of the completion of a full year cycle. So Pisces being the last sign in the zodiac, the astrological zodiac, it's a time of wrapping up a whole year-long cycle, bring it to conclusion, and during that time, often we're getting perspectives about what has transpired for the year, and also getting ideally some clarity about what we may want to be creating in the next cycle. So the first time when that clarity can really emerge strongly is at this full moon today, February 24th. The moon Eshatan, as you were saying, the moon in Virgo, from your perspective in gate 49, from my perspective in 5 degrees of Virgo, opposite the sun in Pisces. So what we have with this full moon is a deep look at how we can take whatever inspired creativity is wanting to move through us, whatever deep, inspiration, from the depths of our soul, from our soul wisdom, our spirit essence. How can we bring that voice, that vision, that work, that love into the world? And what are the creative pathways that we can lay down that are going to lead to the greatest success, that that will allow us to bring our unique gifts to be of service in the world? And when we say be of service in the world, that's really going to be now the keynote for not only these times that we're all experiencing right now, which are very times of a lot of change, a lot of potential upheaval. We're moving from one age to another, from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. This is a 2,000-year cycle that we're entering. So we're letting go, we're shedding quickly the old ways of being, the old ideas around beliefs, around having to have somebody intervene with us in our communion with God. We're letting go of our childish belief that somehow somebody's going to come rescue us. And we're starting to face the fact that, we are humanity and we are stewards of this beautiful planet, this very beautiful planet. And it's up to us to clean up the planet, to freshen the air, to clear the waters, to open the pathways for an age of brotherhood, sisterhood. So as we move into this time of the age of Aquarius, Pluto comes right along. Pluto is the planet of deep and powerful transformation. And when I say transformation, that's opposed to change. So change can be incremental, step 1, step 2, step 3. Transformation is a leap. So what we're all taking together at this point in time is a leap. And it's a leap for humanity that will probably be marked in history, that'll be studied perhaps even, hundreds of years in the future, and maybe even longer than that. So we are the generations, those of us all the way from the baby boomers, which we're a part of, to the youngest generation, now the alpha generation, the new ones coming in, who are the ones who are seeding and seeing in a new world for humanity. If we look a little closer at what's going on right now, towards the end of February, following this full moon, we see that we had that Mars-Pluto-Venus conjunction that you were talking about. Yeah. It was a very, very tight conjunction. And now by today, it's moved out. So Venus and Mars still very tightly traveling together, moving away, separating from Pluto, and essentially taking us into a phase with the full moon of a lot of implementation on everything that we've learned or realized, or everything that we've seen is our new pathway. So we're taking initiative now to bring our dreams, our visions, and our inspirations into fruition. That, I would say, describes the last week of February.
Okay, so I'm going to talk for a moment about what we call the nodes of the moon that relate very much to humanity's destiny path, if you will. Like, where are we taking ourselves? What are we consuming? What are we considering to be important as we move forward in life? Like, what are the forces that are with us and guiding us? The nodes are made up of basically a calculation between the orbit of the sun and the orbit of the moon. And it just happens at this point in time that there's a very long period between now and middle of May, where the node is stuck. It's placed in the same degree of the sky for this whole period of time. And the degree of the sky that's really significant is gateway number 51. 51 is the gateway of shock and the arousing and the wake up. And, you know, unless you've been asleep somewhere for the last month or so, while this node has been, North Node has been in gateway number 51, you know, I think everybody must appreciate things have gotten pretty crazy this last month or two. You know, not the normal. And this particular placement, the 51 line 1, it's going to continue now until, as I say, middle of May. It's going to be there, and it's going to cause all kinds of interactions as other planets go through gateway number 25. And those of you familiar with the human design chart know that the 51 is the gate of the wake up, the arousing, the thunderclap. And the 25 is the gateway of innocence. And sometimes we get so involved in our lives, you know, so carried away, habitual practices in lives that it takes a thunderclap to wake us up. And so we're in that space now between now and, as I say, the middle of May to kind of really come to terms with a lot of shakeups in what it is that gets communicated, how it is we feel about life, who and what's really important to us. I remarked, I think it was back in November or December, that in this time of the year, certain people are going to find the wheels coming off their wagon. You know, the ones that are just carrying on the same old way, you know, habitual, sleepy approach to life. And, you know, belligerent, nasty, in fact. And the thing of it is, this particular time period is not going to support that. So it's a kind of heads up for all of us in a way that the times really are changing, really changing. And, you know, going beyond the word change, they're transforming. And I use the difference between change and transform. Change is just following along whatever seems to be happening. Transforming means making big jumps. So all of us are in this kind of crucible at the moment where these big jumps are taking place. And I've said, starts off with this whole thing of discernment. Who is really important for you in your life? Where do you put your energy? What's the company you really love to keep? Where's the balance in all of that, the give and take? And so as we get into the merry month of March, we find out, you know, again, we're kind of looking around and exploring. Maybe there's some different possibilities. Maybe there's some different things that I can start looking and putting my attention into. We come to the 7th of the month, and the sun goes into gateway number 22. And those of you familiar with 22 will know it's the gateway we call grace. Grace is something for people that have this gateway in their chart. They have this kind of physical capability of being graceful. They have the possibility of being gracious. There is also that possibility of being disgraceful too, but you know, that's just a personal way of things. We get to, I believe it's the 10th of the month, and we have a new moon. And the new moon with sun and moon together in this gateway number 22. I say grace, you know, in terms of physical, in terms of how we behave, our appropriateness or not, or how we get on with each other, how we respect and honor each other as sovereign beings here. But also we can say about the 22, it's where we might say, well, do we get blessed? Do we get blessings? Do we get gifts that come out of the unknown? And all of a sudden we feel, wow, where did that come from? How did I merit that? And so this new moon really does open up that possibility to find that if we're really tuning into it, we're living in a charmed life. And it's just going to be accentuated by this new moon on the 10th of the month, that we really do have the opportunity to look around and say, my goodness, how did I get so fortunate? So it takes place in 22 in the 4th line. I'll just read to you what is in the book of lines on that particular line. It's called impressing, empowering all interactions by aligning to their requirements. You see, the 22, apart from having this graceful quality about it, has the means to open up doorways where mostly we just see a brick wall. We don't think it's possible. We kind of lost our belief in miracles. We've lost our belief in anything going outside what we've already learned about life. And so this new moon is really opening that doorway for us. It's opening that possibility of seeing something in a very, very different way. So as I said, we are in that age of miracle and wonders at the moment. We are going into this Aquarian age. Goodness knows what they'll say about us in the future, but you know, it's really is intense times, and all of us are called on to step up in our lives, to let go of the beliefs that really don't serve us anymore. You know?
Right, which takes a bit of an examination of those beliefs, like looking more deeply at some of the beliefs that we've just taken for granted because we were raised with them. And perhaps, you know, haven't questioned them for decades even. So what is it that we really do believe? And I think that question is going to be fairly big up here at the very beginning of March, especially we have a third quarter moon on March 3rd. And at that point in time, the Sun and Saturn are together in Pisces. And of course, Pisces is very much about our religious and spiritual beliefs, more spiritual beliefs than religious, but our sense of ourselves in relationship to the cosmos and to creation itself. With Saturn there, it's testing us. It's saying, what is it that we really do believe? And, you know, are we being true to our beliefs? And are our beliefs true? You know, so a re-examination of, because if you think about it, if you really look at some of your core beliefs, like for instance, I have a core belief that inherent in all of humanity is a natural tendency and a pour towards goodness. So that's a belief from my culture, from the time I grew up, from perhaps my parents, you know, ancestors. But, you know, I've had to really take a look at that in the last few years with so much upheaval in the world, and especially in our country, in the USA, with so much political upheaval like we've never seen before. And really disturbing things happening. I've had to really re-examine that. Is that really true? Now, I have come to the conclusion that actually it is true, that there is that core of goodness within each of us, but that there's so much pain layered over it. And sometimes it's generational pain that we're carrying with us that really we need to go through a clearing, a healing, an inner transformation in order to reawaken ourselves to living in that innocence and that inner goodness. So that's what I had to look at. But what is it that you in particular will need to question about your beliefs? And this is a good time to be doing that, this third quarter moon in the early part of March, to really get clear on what you believe now. What is your truth, truly? We each have a way of finding our own truth. Human design points us to that more powerfully than any other system I've ever seen. I've studied a lot of them. And you know, if you live your design, if you really learn your design and you live it, you have a way of accessing your truth throughout your entire life. When we do that, then we're living in alignment with our soul essence. There's no better time than this, as humanity is entering the age of Aquarius, for us to really step up and say, you know, I'm willing to let go of the old beliefs, the old ways of being, the old expectations, the old fears, and really step into a new possibility, an awakened possibility. To that theme of awakening, you were talking about the North Nodal axis being in gate 51.
Yes.
It's in astrological terms, it's at 17 degrees of Aries as it's sitting in gate 51. And it's together, not only conjunct, but what astrologers call combust with Chiron. Chiron is the body and space that has to do with our alignment between higher self or spirit essence and personality self. So the potential with Chiron is that there's a linking, there's a pathway that opens so that the personality self can be infused with our spirit intention and essence, and that we can hear more and follow more the inner urgings and voice of our soul truth. So here it is, sitting in this gateway of 51, shock, awakening. But that gateway also has everything to do with up-leveling to a higher consciousness. So you could see it as sort of taking third dimensional awareness into a fifth dimensional frequency. And on a fifth dimensional frequency, we function on intuitive wisdom rather than intellectual analysis. And we can see where intellectual analysis has got us so far. Do we like where humanity is right now? Do we feel secure? Or is there a better way? If we're actually open to our higher inspiration and we're following our higher inspiration, our soul's truth, then let's see what we can create in the next 50 to 100 years. Let's see what humanity can bring. When we awaken, when we decide there's nobody coming to save us, we need to do it ourselves, and we get on with the program. Now, all of you who are in our community, we know you're already on it. You're already working on it. You're already there. And it's not easy. It isn't easy because, especially in America, we're up against such entrenched patterns and forces that we really need to find a strength and a resilience within ourselves in order to keep honoring our truth day after day after day. So find your people, find your tribe, find the support in our world, in your communities, in your family, that will allow you to have as much comfort as possible as you move into a whole new frequency and a whole new way of being, which is basically what we're doing right now. This third quarter moon is a catalyst for getting on with it. All right. So we know the change is here and we know what it is, and we've shifted our beliefs and we're working on shifting those more perhaps. But how does that translate now into our expression in the world, into the work that we're doing, into the relationships that we're enjoying, into the creativity that we're bringing forth in the world? How does it actually translate? This third quarter moon is the time to be looking deeply at that and getting some answers for ourselves, leading all the way up to the new moon that you pointed out. But back over to you for that.
Well, I already talked a good bit about the new moon in the 22 line form, and for us to kind of sit back and realize, we are living a charmed life. There is something very, very particular about having taken birth in this time. We lined up for it in a way. And sometimes you sign up for something and you're not quite sure where it's going to take you. But there is an inherent sense of, we want to see this thing through. We want to see the elevation of the consciousness on this planet. It's supported people for hundreds of thousands of years, whatever the history books say. You go looking around, there's evidence of people having lived here for literally hundreds of thousands of years. So there have been certain upsets that made it impossible for the consciousness to expand. There were collapses in various shapes and forms at various times. And we're right on that brink again, where we can actually make this jump in consciousness. There have been all kinds of people and all kinds of cultures that have drawn us towards this time. And really, it is up for us. So don't minimize your presence here for a moment, and just see there's always the opportunity to keep on expanding. Mother Earth wants us to succeed here. She wants to make this transformation happen. But there's a lot of things that have to get left behind. A lot of the old, as you were saying, entrenched beliefs and ideas about stuff.
And fears.
Yeah, we cannot afford to carry these things with us anymore. So I was talking about this new moon in gateway number 22, the gateway of grace. And when I see 22 in somebody's chart, yes, I see they have this natural gracefulness about them physically. On some level, it's discernible. And when you take grace far enough, you start entering into that whole realm of beauty. And then how do you describe beauty? How do you describe something that is just wows you, gets you all together? And the thing about the 22 is that the beauty can also be passed through us energetically. That we find ourselves in situations where we are just in a state of grace. And I know a lot of the healers that we work with, a lot of the counselors, consultants, people we work with, every now and again, they find themselves in that space where just they're running this grace through them. And they're watching things happening in front of them. They're watching the transformation that can take place as they open up into this other realm altogether. So again, let's all get used to the fact that, all right, we live in 3D. This table's pretty solid, you know.
It appears that way.
It appears that way. But, you know, there are so many other dimensions as well. And our spirit nature is really calling us to start remembering and re-embracing these other dimensions. As we get a little bit further on into the month here, Saturn has now finished its run through gateway number 55, the gateway of spirit. And Venus is in there right at this time, as I say, around the 13th, 12th, 13th of March. Spirit is something that, what can I say? It's gateway number 55 in human design. It's the least logical of all the gates. You know, that it's our connection in a way. And the 55 and the 22 kind of go hand in hand with each other. The 22 is how we allow the energy to come through us in a way, and the 55 is what it is that inspires us, or kind of, what can I say, raises our hair sometimes when we realize we're living in an abundant universe. Anything is possible, and anything that we've ever considered to be a limitation is actually just part of a 3D thing that, you know, we've agreed certain things are solid, but it also exists in other dimensions as well. You know, I have to stop sometimes and just remind myself that nobody knows what life is. I don't care who you ask, nobody knows. And yet here we are having this experience. And as Carola points out, we have this extraordinarily beautiful planet to be on and so much to play for. And do we have to keep on doing the same old silly things? Or can we raise the bar? Can we raise the energy? And that's really the key of this time. So
it is, it's the call of these times.
So come the 11th of the month, Jupiter goes back into gateway number 2 again. And Jupiter, the great benefic, the great teacher, the great expander, you know, wish upon a star, Jupiter will make it work for you. You know, it has a 12-year cycle. And gateway number 2 is the gateway of receptivity. And so again, as we're kind of reevaluating and examining our lives all the time, you know, am I on the right track? And Jupiter just says, look, you have a possibility now for this next month to really go inside and find out what's really calling to you. The gateway number 2 is the gateway of receptivity. And this is Jupiter's third pass through here in the last year. And this is the last time it's going to go through here for the next 12 years. And just to be open, what's trying to get my attention at the moment? And when you get it, you'll just know, and you won't necessarily know how you know or where it came from. It's just all of a sudden you've received some input that is getting you to reorient in life and step forward perhaps in a very, very different way. Going on a few more days, we have another interaction with gateway number 51. Gateway number 51, remember I was saying the North Node destiny is in there, and then it gets joined by by Mercury and also by Chiron. And we have the Sun going into gateway number 25. So we have a week of initiation with the underlying theme, not just the node, but also Mercury, our whole arena of communication, also Chiron, you know, which you were describing as the linking of body and soul and the healing that can take place here. So really, a lot of things can get cleaned up very quickly, like a lot of clearing can happen, a lot of karma removed. These kinds of things by being present, clear, loving, and, you know, having a really open space in life, being really receptive to what life is wanting to show us. And allowing ourselves to be surprised sometimes. You know, didn't think this thing was possible. And all of a sudden, yes, it is, and it works. And I feel so elevated through this particular interaction. The channel of initiation, 5125, literally takes us out of the commonplace. It's like going for a walk, and you're kind of carrying on with your walk, and all of a sudden you realize whatever looked like, you know, you're walking through the wood, and all of a sudden the trees are opening up to this extraordinary view in front. Or you come along to the edge of a cliff and there it is, the ocean's in front of you, and it just goes on and on. It's very much like that at the moment, allowing ourselves to be surprised by what life wants to reveal to us. Yeah.
Beautiful. So I'm going to back up to the new moon.
Yes.
And look at it astrologically. Here, the new moon at 20 degrees of Pisces on the 10th of March. And this also, by the way, is for America. It's the day that it's a Sunday, and it's the day that we turn the clocks back to daylight savings time. So just a reminder for those of you who wake up on Sunday morning and find your mobile phone says something different than the clock on the wall, that we're working with this sort of in this transition time. And the daylight savings time doesn't really have anything to do with that, because it's a human construct that we just decided to do. And much of the world does it now, some doesn't, and some states do and some don't. But it's it's a metaphor in a way to how we humans can mess with the natural order of things. And when we do that, how we throw it off kilter, we throw it out of balance. I'm not saying right or wrong, good or bad, but it's just, I see it as an interesting metaphor for these times. Because look, we're going into, as we head into the remainder of March, a very, very pregnant time for some big breakthroughs. We're going to have, towards the latter part of this month, an eclipse, and I'll be talking about that in a little bit. So this new moon is going to move us now towards that eclipse point and the big realizations and breakthroughs that can happen towards the latter part of the month. 20 degrees of Pisces is where the new moon happens. The sun now has moved out of its conjunction with Saturn, where I was talking about, all right, let's look at what our beliefs are and question them again. And now it's moving into the conjunction of Neptune, which is to say, where is our true spiritual awareness? Because spiritual awareness doesn't come from a belief. It comes from an internal experience. It's a living, breathing thing, spirit, essence, life. And we have access to spirit at any moment in time. The opening to spirit is very, very, very powerful for all of us at this period of time between March 10th and over the next 2 weeks, as we build up from this new moon to that full moon, which will be a lunar eclipse. We have Uranus, the innovator planet. Uranus brings new forms, new possibilities. It awakens us to higher possibilities, higher states of awareness, but it's also about new technologies, new breakthroughs. And if you've been paying attention to the news, you'll see that we're having daily new breakthroughs in all kinds of sectors, from the scientific sector to the technology sector to the monetary sectors to in the political realms. I mean, pretty much every realm and system that humanity has set in place in modern times, really going through a huge up level right now. And that up level starts with a shaking of the foundation, so that shake it up, wake it up, so that we can become aware of what does need to change. So Uranus, the planet of change, the planet of awakening, in this beautiful linking aspect with this new moon, saying, all right, what is it that is our truth? And are we willing to innovate along those lines, to start really moving along the lines of our truth, allowing our inner truth to inform how we're doing our life? Mars is the planet that has to do with the work that we do in the world. It's been in this beautiful linking energy with Chiron and the soul path for all of humanity. And that continues on through into this middle of the month period, into even the beginning of the 3rd week in March, where we have this really potent creation energy. I mean, Mars at its core is procreation. It's creating new life. And, you know, we have it linking with this body and space, Chiron, that has to do with awakening ourselves to a higher way of creating. So here we have this immense creativity going on in this period of time that we all can access in our own unique ways through our meditation, through our aligning ourselves with our higher truth and living more and more each day from that. Not to belabor that point, but really that's the only game in town right now. So
I'm looking again now at the 18th of the month, where the sun, from our perspective, goes on into gateway number 25, goes into the gateway of innocence. Does this every year. And, you know, the 15th of March, we have this thing called the Ides of March, which is very famous in Roman history. You know, beware of the Ides. And, you know, I'm not going to say that's the day people's wheels are going to come off their wagons, but there's something around that, you know, that life is going to present itself in a way that's not supportable for those that carry on in a belligerent fashion. The sun going into gateway number 25, we have the node, we have Mercury, we have Chiron in the gateway number 51. And so the sun in this place of pure innocence, you know, the state that we arrived on this planet in, and the state we leave this planet in, pure innocence, right? The beginning, wow, adventure ahead. Let's see how it unfolds. At the end of life, you know, game over. Well, did anything happen? Did I learn anything? Did I grow anything? Did I have an extraordinary time, or did I just kind of go along with everybody else's ways of doing stuff? And so the reminder of this, the node and the Chiron and Mercury, all in the 51, the shock, getting us to wake up and find out, oh, yeah, it's time to smell the roses again. Yes, it's time to go back to my childlike innocence before all the complications, before I convinced myself I knew everything that needed to be known about life. Yeah, I just got stuck in a rut with it. So that's very potential at that time. And as we go on a few days, on the 21st, the sun goes into gateway number 25 in the 5th line. And this opens up this very particular life theme in human design, the life theme of healing. So I've already said, you know, we've got Chiron, which is very much the healer of body and soul, brings that whole arena together. We've had Mercury in there as well, and the node of the moon in there, the past destiny path of humanity. And now, oh, healing is the flavor. Healing is the energy of this time. And it only lasts a couple of days, but just to see my experience of people that have this life theme as a design, they don't necessarily know it about themselves, but they have this extraordinary gift of being able to bring about healing. And I'm not just talking about they start prescribing people medications or anything like that. It's just an energetic thing that they somehow penetrate into somebody's reality. You know, they penetrate right beyond any blockages to the innocence. And they go right into that place. What's your life all about? And somehow within that space, they bring about a healing for people. And it's very hard to describe what it is that happens, but you can actually watch the relief that takes place. So I'm just saying this, so the 21st, 22nd of the month, as we make this shift into, I guess is it Aries? No, what are we into? Yes, Aries. Yeah.
yeah,
That we have.
it's sort of it's the astrological beginning of the new year when the sun completes Pisces and goes into Aries.
Yeah. So just be aware of that, you know, as we finish up with Pisces and we've explored whatever Pisces relates to us, you know, our quest into our belief systems and, you know, how relevant they are. What is our connection with spirit? What is our connection with the unknowable? And the healing can take place when we allow ourselves to drop the dross, drop the excess baggage, drop the things that don't have any meaning or anything usefulness for whatsoever. And let's see what happens. Let's see if we can enter into this astrological new year in a very clean and clear space.
Absolutely. So here we have the first quarter moon coming on the 16th of March, first quarter moon in Gemini. And the first quarter moon, basically, we've got the new moon, which sets the new 30-day cycle in place. And then we've got the first quarter moon, which is the first time we hit a point of maximum focus with that potential. So we begin really working on it in a consciously clear way, like we're in motion with it. So it's not just an idea or a seed that's been planted or a little sprout that's sprouted up, but it's actually, it's growing and we're with it, we're working with it. First quarter moon is that turning point. We're in a time of really rapid growth of resources. Jupiter in the sign of Taurus, Jupiter's expansion. Taurus is, among other things, wealth. And so we've got this expansion in certain sectors, this big wealth expansion. Lots going on right now in the stock market and the crypto arena, et cetera, with a lot of explosive growth. And that it looks like that continues. The pathways that it takes are sometimes unpredictable and very changeable. But we have coming up at this first quarter moon, we've got Saturn linking in with Jupiter, bringing a bit of more practical kind of planning, more attention to our resources, more perhaps responsible way of utilizing our resources. And that in the middle of this big rapid growth. So this, skyrocketing values in many, many ways. And we see that in, not only in the stock market and various equities and et cetera, but also in the real estate market. So, so essentially what this first quarter moon does is it gives us that first opportunity to see, well, how can I play a part in this new theme? What is it that I will do? We've got the sun exactly conjoining Neptune. So if there was ever a time here, this is exactly on March 16th, ever a time that we could really get our spirit essence, the vision from our spirit essence, and get it really clearly, this would be a fabulous day for that. And it comes with a nice positive linking with Pluto, saying not only do we get the vision, really high vision, our spirit essence, and what it is that we came to Earth for at this period of time, but also we see how we can be empowered to carry that vision forward. That is the essence, I would say, of that first quarter moon.
So I'm going to go forward until we get to the full moon. And this is something that takes place on the 25th of the month. I've described this shift, the eclipse, yeah. And, tell us about eclipses. Why are they special?
Okay, well, so every month we have lunations. We've got a new moon and a full moon. And about every 6 months, we have what we call an eclipse. Essentially what that means is that the lunation, either the new moon or the full moon, happens in various levels of close proximity to the moving soul path for all humanity, the nodal axes. When that happens, it's like an especially powerful new moon or especially significant full moon. It has more impact. It usually brings change. It introduces something new at the new moon. It brings us a whole sense of new possibility in a very powerful way at the full moon eclipse. So this particular eclipse coming up is a lunar eclipse, which means that it's happening at the full moon.
So at this time, the sun has gone into gateway number 17, which is the gateway I see when you boil it down. It's the gateway of opinions, thought processes. In the I Ching, we call it following, as though one statement follows another, lining up a whole sequence of thoughts that are going to a conclusion somewhere. There's kind of future-oriented thoughts. What are we going to do here? How do we line things up towards the future? So the sun has gone into gate 17, and it opens up this life thing that we call service. And service is a purely logical thing for the benefit of humanity. The people that have this life theme, you know, it's not a quid pro quo. It's not like I'll do something for you and I get the reciprocation back from you. It's basically my whole thing is about being able to offer it to the world. Of course, I get rewarded for it, but it's not a direct connection like that. So the 17, this gateway of viewing things, looking towards the future. The full moon, because it's full, is on the opposite side of the wheel, and it's in gateway number 18. Now, those of you that are familiar with the I Ching will know that gate 18 is the one the Chinese call work on what has been spoiled by the parents, as though from very early on in life, there is a lot of misleading that takes place for children, that they're given a set of rules, they're given a set of understandings and beliefs, and this is how life is. And in a sense, a lot of their power is taken away from them because of these limiting beliefs and these limiting concepts and stuff. So the 18th gateway is a gateway, I mean, in some way I call it the get out of hell gateway, because at a certain point, people that have this gateway in their design, they realize everything they've been told is very questionable. You know, you're supposed to do this, you've got to do that, you've got to fit in then. And so in a sense, people with the 18 have to retain their power. They have to get their power back. They have to get over the idea of everybody knows better than they do. And so here it is as a gateway in the whole of the I Ching and the whole of human design. And the full moon is taking place in gateway number 18, this gateway of getting over some sense of we're chained to a treadmill or there's only one way things can work, and seeing the possibility of the expansion. So if we look at 18 with the first line, we're looking at things tied into the patriarchy, the male dominance, the misogyny, all these things that kind of are tied into the old boys network, and it can only happen like this, you know, that's it, cast in stone. By the time we get to the second line, there's a whole shift. It's a very, very different line. And those of you that are familiar with my work, I mean, I spent 17 years writing this book of lines. And, you know, I mean, it was a little torture for you, but it was like...
No, that's fine. It took a long time, but that's fine.
There are so many ways you can look at the I Ching until you really get into it and really kind of sense what is it that is represented by these chop marks here, where they are in the sky around us because of the human design wheel in the sky, and you know, how do they all relate to each other? And I have to say, I spent months sitting with the 18 in the second line. I could not work it out. I couldn't get in there. I couldn't quite work out what it was, what it's all about. And to see it come as the activation for our full moon in this time was like, oh my goodness. Following on from everything that we've been talking about this time, you know, who's important for us in our lives, that whole thing of discernment, that whole thing of being a sovereign being and allowing our own sense of spirituality to be key in our lives, to allow ourselves to feel blessed in life, to open up that doorway so spirit can just become very familiar to us in every day in our lives, you know, that we literally light up with it. And then we come to the 18 line 2 and the conditioning around the 18 line 2. And what I came up with in the end, after a lot of meditation and consideration, I call it honoring the goddess. Instilled fears involving the power of the feminine. When you look at the world at the moment and you see, you know, war is still considered to be something normal. The 30% of the American GDP is about guns and bombs and armaments and armies and all that kind of stuff. Defense, it's called. And, you know, it's like, really? Can't we do something a bit more constructive here? You know, can't we get over this stuff? I don't know a single woman that would just happily send her son off to go and shoot somebody. I cannot come to that level of understanding. It is not a feminine principle as far as I know. And so what I see with honoring the goddess is it's like the rising again of the feminine intelligence that is intrinsic in this planet here. I mean, after all, it is a Mother Earth, whatever we try to do to her. And so honoring the goddess, and here, any tendency to suppress the feminine side of your nature requires great inner watchfulness. Whether you're born in a woman's body, you still have a part of you that's got the male quotient in it. It's the genes, it's in there. If you're in a male body, you've got a part of your body that's feminine. We're both. We somehow landed up on planet Earth in this duality. It's a very curious thing. But you can recognize, as long as the male side of things is absolutely dominant, we go on destroying each other and actually, taking this planet to pieces, drilling it and boring it, and God knows what we do to it. As long as that carries on as the normal, then we're doomed. But if we can start rearranging the feminine principle, the yin side, the receptive side, the love side, everything can happen. So I get very excited about seeing this full moon in the 18 line too, honoring the goddess. My sense is all of us, it's not just Valentine's, we can have a lovey-dovey time, it's like we can spread that out a lot in our lives and just see love as the principle of this universe, whatever you want to call it. Creativity, consciousness, whatever, love is the deal. And so allowing the enhancement of the feminine side again, of bringing back the balance into the world, just on a consciousness level. And then, the physical side of it can follow as well. And the implementation of the things that we see are essential can take place here. So that's what I see with this full moon. And yeah, very, very powerful one, indeed.
And from the astrological perspective, right before the full moon, we've got the spring equinox. So the spring equinox marks the point where the days and the nights are about even. So we move from the winter solstice, which is the darkest point of the year, to the summer solstice in June, which is the most light that we have, to the equinox. And the spring equinox and the fall equinox are where the days and nights are fairly equal. So essentially, it's a time of finding a new equilibrium. If you look at it, sort of symbolically. The spring equinox happens on the 19th of March in the USA. In Europe, you're going to see it more, in most of the world, you see it more on the 20th of March. It's another point in time. It's not necessarily particularly an astrological event or a human design event, except for the fact that it marks the time when the sun, as you were saying, it completes its transit of Pisces, which means it completes its transit through all 12 of the signs of the zodiac and comes all the way back to the starting point at 0 degrees of Aries. So we have a new beginning. And in some ways, that spring equinox will often feel like a new beginning. Now, I know for those of you who are in the southern hemisphere of the world, and many of you are in our community, that we haven't forgotten that for you, it's the autumn equinox. Either way, it's a big turning point, and the astrological energies are the same. So what are we looking at with this equinox? We're seeing, the sun, as it moves into Aries, still in that conjunction with Neptune. So we still have this energy of the vision, what is our highest vision and the highest possibility for our lives. And still in this linking energy, now tightly in this linking energy with Pluto. Where is the cutting edge transformation that needs to happen in our lives, in our relationships, in our way of going about business or going to our work, or being with our children, how we treat the planet? Where is that cutting edge transformation, and how can we participate in that? The other thing that's really remarkable at this time is that the conjunction of the soul path, the north axis of the moon, conjunction of that with Chiron, which we've been talking about all through this broadcast, still going on, still tight, but Mercury has moved into that conjunction right here at that equinox. So it's what that's saying is that this is a time to have a maximum awareness, sort of a mental realization, an understanding of what these changing times we're in are really about and what they mean for us personally and what they mean for us globally. We're reinventing relationships. We're reinventing the monetary system. We're reinventing so many of our systems. Jupiter and Uranus still in this highly productive period of continuing rapid growth of resources and opening of new pathways, ways of valuing our resources, ways of using them, ways of storing value and sharing value and in terms of our resources. So big time of awakening, of soul illumination, and also of embracing many changes all coming, head on fast. Then we move to the lunar eclipse, which happens on the 25th of March. Now we're going to be back with you again on that Saturday, the 23rd of March. So we'll be talking more about the lunar eclipse then and, shedding more light on it. But just to say, this is a big turning point. It's a lunar eclipse in the sign of the moon, in the sign of Libra, which is relationships, love relationships, and the sun, the sign of Aries, which is about individuation. So essentially, it's bringing us to this point, a realization of how we can align. Well, it's pretty much like what you were saying, aligning the masculine and the feminine principles within ourselves, because that alignment has to happen within each of us before we'll see it aligned in the world. And it's not that the feminine principle is anything new to planet Earth. It is a feminine planet, but it has been so suppressed over the last few thousand years that it's, and now just enjoying this reawakening. And we're re-familiarizing ourselves with what is this feminine energy. I mean, we say it's nurturing and it's caring, it's supportive and all of that. Yes. And it's growth, it's fertility. But there's a power within the feminine energy, the power to draw to itself, to create, not with hammers and nails, but and there's nothing wrong with that, because thank God for men who've gone out there and created with hammers and nails, because we have homes to live in, etc. So I'm not knocking that, but it's to create through drawing to ourselves that which we desire. That's the essence of the feminine principle at one of its highest expressions here on planet Earth. So this lunar eclipse coming up, a very exciting time. We're going to see, again, more changes going on. And one more thing I want to say before we wrap up, because I know our time's about up here, is that just to make you aware that on April 1st, we have the phenomena of Mercury turning retrograde. So those of you who've been with us for a while, you know full well what a Mercury retrograde brings. I would say wrap up in the last week of March, wrap up anything that you've been working on, that you've initiated in this month of initiation with the sun in Aries. Wrap up the forward momentum, moving forward energy, and go back and dot the I's and cross the T's. And do that more painstaking work over the next few weeks into April. We'll be back with you on March 25th, and looking very much forward to seeing you then.
Yeah. A lot more news to share with you for the merry month of April as well.
Yeah, because we'll have another eclipse coming.
Indeed.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Have a great time. We'll see you next time.
Many blessings.
Bye for now.